Okay, so we've been having trouble with the live stream, unfortunately. So I am setting up on a new one. We're live now, and I'm just informing. I see we have a few people watching, but I'm just gonna post the link in the other group so that everyone knows to meet me over here. All right. So hello to those of you who are watching already. Yes, Ashley, stay here. This is the new link. I'm gonna update this later on with all the bells and whistles. But for right now, this seems to be working, and I couldn't get the other live stream to work. So let me inform everyone over the other side. And as soon as they migrate, then I will start over here. 36 people watching. Hey everybody, glad to have you. Turn on comments. Okay, it looks like I'm gonna have to switch between StreamYard. So and normally if I'm going live, I use a software called StreamYard. And this time around, I decided I was gonna do it straight from YouTube. I've never, actually, I think I have done it directly from YouTube before and I didn't have any problems. So I don't know why it's telling me now to connect streaming software and it's not allowing me to go live directly from YouTube for some reason. So I decided to just hop on StreamYard and do the live from there, which is very easy. Should have just done that from the beginning. But so the reason I use StreamYard is if I am streaming to multiple platforms. I wasn't streaming to multiple platforms this time, just YouTube alone. So I didn't think I needed it, but here we are. So I guess now we're gonna use StreamYard all the time. So hi everybody, 37 of you on. Glad to have you. Let me see if I can close the other link yet. You know what? I'll just leave it there so that if anybody joins us late, they can see the link to the new video. All right. So you're all interested in budgeting, and forgive my look, it's Sunday. I have kids, I have stuff to do, but I wanted to make the time to be here with you guys today and just to walk you through the budgeting template. And I'm guessing you all downloaded the budgeting template that I sent out in the email this morning. I have another one to send to you guys. It's the investment template, investment portfolio, how you can track your stocks. I still have a few tweaks to make to it, which is why I haven't sent it out yet. But I will still use this video to walk you through the whole process. So I'm going to be reviewing both templates today. We'll get the investing templates later in the week. Hopefully by Wednesday, I'll be able to send that out. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the we don't care girl. Thank you so much, Rochelle. That is much appreciated. Let's start with the one that I sent that you would have downloaded this morning. And I realized too, how do I share? Okay, share screen. This is it. Yes, this is it. Okay, so I realized as well that I missed something on this budgeting template. So I'm gonna have to update it and I guess send it to you again. I missed a big bill, rent, for a lot of people. And you know why? Because in my household, I don't pay rent. My husband pays rent. And some people you have your mortgage. So I did put in a line for mortgage. I didn't put any line for rent. So that wasn't in there, but I'm gonna add it. Or you can add it. I can show you now how you can add it. If anybody watching is not familiar with Excel, let me know. So this was actually created in Google Sheets, which is similar. It has a lot of similarities to Microsoft Excel. Excel, of course, is a much more powerful program. Google Sheets is based online. But the good thing about, you're seeing it? Okay, great. The good thing about Google Sheets is that it allows you to save it to your phone. So let me show you where I have mine. What's going on here? So if you look at my phone here, it's actually on my home screen. So those three sheets right there, let's see it, 1, 2, 3. So I have 3 spreadsheets, and those are actually saved directly to my home screen. So one is called Budget 2021, another one is called Budget, and that's my business account. One has my personal accounts, one has a content calendar. So the great thing about, and if you have a Gmail, any Gmail account, it automatically comes with Google Drive. If you've never used Google Drive before, it is really great, and it's a free tool. So let me show you, for example. Let's continue sharing. Oh, it's still on the sharing net. All right, let's just start with the template then. So how do you use it? I have several things here, and you'll see that I have different tabs for income, and that is because we do what? Money makers, we have multiple streams of income, right? So you're not going to rely on your salary alone. You want to sit down and collect too. So you might have dividends as income. You might have other forms of income too. You might collect rent. Maybe you rent a motor vehicle as a taxi. You have a property that you rent out, whatever it is. Anything that you're collecting as income, put it in this box. And in addition to that, you might maybe you win cash pot, put it in income. I want you to log all the income that you receive in a particular month right here. And let me say too that I do use this spreadsheet in tandem with an app that I really, really love. And it's on the same page that I showed you before. So this home budget app, let's see right there in the corner, home budget up there. Nothing there, yeah. Home budget app, and then that's the widget for it. So I do like to use, and I have a different video that I will link in the description. I do like to use the home budget app to do the day-to-day logging of expenses. I find that gets a bit cumbersome in Excel or in Google Sheets. And then at the end of the month, what I do is put everything into, so I look at my app, and that gives me all the totals, and then I'm going to put those into this spreadsheet at the end of the month, and when you reconcile everything. So that's for income. Then we have savings and investments. So up here we can use to plan our goals, and we can also use to track our overall investment accounts. So if you have an emergency fund, right, and let's say you want to have a minimum of $100,000. I'm getting confused. You want to have a minimum of $100,000 in your emergency fund, and you are going to estimate that you'll put $10,000 a month in your emergency fund. And if you did put $10,000 this month, so you have your estimated column, your actual column. So this is when you're planning ahead of the month. So for June, now we're at June 6th, we should have done this column already. These are what you expect your bills to be, and the payments that you're going to make this month. You put them in the estimated column. And then at the end of the month, the end of June now, we are going to go back into the app where we logged everything, and we're going to put in the actual numbers. So I did manage to save $10,000 towards my investment to my emergency fund this month. And So I still need to tweak this because the distance column is not there for this one. So this should be G, no, it should be I8. This formula should be I8 T minus I8. Oh, it's because I didn't put it here yet. All right, so with credit, there we go. So we started with 0, and then we added $10,000 to our emergency funds this month. So we have a balance of $10,000, and then we are $90,000 away from our goal. We can see that here. Let's say you had to take out money out of your emergency fund. So you estimated you're going to put in 10,000. You did put in the 10,000, but let's say you had to take out 5,000, which would leave you with 5,000. Huh? Screen isn't sharing. I'm so sorry, guys. All these technical issues today. Oh, okay, let's start that all over. Wow, 64 of you are watching. That's awesome. All right, let's start over. So screen is sharing now, and the reason I couldn't tell is because I have to keep going back and forth between StreamYard and YouTube in order to see your comments. I don't know why I'm not seeing the comments. Sure. I'm not seeing the comments in StreamYard. I have to go back to YouTube in order to see your comments. Anyway, let's start that over. Were you guys seeing at any point at all, or do I have to start from top? Just send me a comment. Were you seeing it at any point at all? From top. All right, here is my budgeting template. This is for June. So we put in our salary. Let's say you estimated that you were going to make $200,000 this month. And salary is pretty predictable, so you did make $200,000 from your salary. You estimated that maybe you'd make $5,000 in dividends, and let's say 2,500 in dividends came in. So it's going to show you a difference of negative 2,500 because you didn't quite get how much you expected. And then in the other category, let's say you won cash pot, wasn't expected. So you estimated 0, but you won $15,000. So now your actual is more than your estimated. You thought you were going to make 205,000, you actually made 217,000. So that's pretty awesome. You did great in June. So like I was saying, I want you to put in all of your income in this column. Anything that you make, anything that you didn't expect, it doesn't matter. Just put it in this particular column. Now let's move on to our savings and investments. This is the second part of our budget. So here we plan for our emergency fund. We plan for, and I highly advise you to have a separate account for your emergency fund, another account for any goals that you have. So you might have a house fund that you're putting money towards saving a house, or it might be, what do I have here? I think I have college fund. Yeah, house, college, maybe college savings. It may be that you're saving towards buying a car, whatever it is that you're saving towards. And I like to actually save do savings as investments. But let's say you want to have a savings account in cash for a big goal like one of these, then this is where you plan for that, right? So let's say your goal is to save enough money for a down payment for a car. The car costs $2.5 million. You want a 10% deposit, so you need to save up $250,000. So you're going to put that there as your goal. And then every time you put money into this account, so let's say you were planning to put $25,000 into this account every month. That way you are going to get to this goal in 10 months, right? So you estimate that you're going to put 25,000 in it. At the end of the month, you come back to this document, you did save $25,000. So you're going to put that there, you met your goal, and you're also going to put it here in the credits. So you started at zero, so zero is brought forward. And then in this month, you credited $25,000 to that account. And now you'll see that distance is automatically updated. So you look at this document and you can see automatically that you still have $225,000 to go. And that's in the red. When you get to that goal, it will be in the black. It will get to zero. So you know you are right where you want to be. You finally have the money that you need, which is why I said that I use this document as this budget template as a planning document. So you can plan for anything. If you know that you need to save X amount of dollars by X time, you put it in your budget, you plan towards it, and you just use this, and this helps you give you that visual cue as to how far you have to go. Now, this section of the budget, the investments, this works in tandem with the other spreadsheet that I'm going to send to you. Then you have your pension accounts and any other savings that you may have. Then we get into what most people think about when they think about budgeting, which is the expenses. But budgeting is two sides, right? Income and expenses. And you also want to account for your savings. You also want to account for debt in your budget. So I have a section here where we deal with debt. That's all the way at the bottom. And we also plan for how to repay the debt. So these are your typical expenses. You'll have your utilities, your light bill, water bill, phone, cable. Should change this to light since not everybody is I should say electricity. Not everybody is in Jamaica, might not recognize JPS, you know. Um, and perhaps I should add household here. So I should say household/utilities. Actually, no, I have a separate line for household. So let's leave this as utilities. Food, what you spend on groceries, what you spend on restaurants, snacks. Yes, you have to put in your snacks because snacks can add up. Lunch money for the kids, whatever else you spend money on for food. Personal, so these are the categories I use: clothing, toiletries, beauty. That's like if you want to do your hair, want to do your nails. If you have gifts for anyone, you can plan that here so that it doesn't creep up on you. You know that somebody's birthday is coming up, put that in here. If you spend money on, say example, the gym, you're going to put that in here. In fitness, recreation, of course, that's anything for fun. Here you have transportation, gas, bus or taxi fare. If you own a vehicle, so you have car servicing that you have to plan for. You know you're gonna wash your car. You know you're gonna need to pay your licensing every month, every year, or you might be doing it by the month. I think you can pay by the month. You know you're gonna need your fitness every year. Um, Car insurance should be here too. I definitely need to send you guys an updated version of this. And it took me so long to do because I was, still tweaking it and tweaking it since it was customized specifically for me. And I wanted to make sure all the formulas were working. So I will send an updated version as soon as possible. So car insurance, another thing that you can pay annually or monthly or quarterly, or however you pay. In Jamaica here, we have this category called fitness, where you have to go in and check the fitness, the roadworthiness of your vehicle once every 18 months, I think it is. If you have toll fees to pay, put that in here too. Then you have medical. So if you have health insurance, you put that here. Anything else that you have to pay that your health insurance didn't cover for the month, you put that here. Miscellaneous subscriptions are things that creep up on us. You subscribe to, the Gleaner now has a subscription service that you have to pay for it. You subscribe to Amazon Prime, you subscribe to Netflix, all that fun stuff. You put that in here. How much do you spend on subscriptions a month? Here you have households. So probably here you can add your rent. So let's add a category for rent. And I would actually make this blue so that it matches the rest, the other categories. And make it a little bit smaller too, just so that it matches the rest. So you have your rent, cleaning supplies. So these need to be blue also. If you have a helper, then you put that here. Pets end up costing money. You have to take them to groom. You have to, whatever you spend money on for your pets. If you buy special food for them, they have to go to the vet. That costs money. You give your children an allowance that needs to go in. Education, very important. That stuff can creep upon you. You should probably add an other category for education, because I know if you are parents, you send your children to school, every minute they need something, don't it? Every minute the school wants some donation for something. So probably you should add an other category here in education. And y'all know I'm talking the truth, right? Every minute the school wants some donation for something. Now here's where we plan for our debts. And this is what I used to get me out of debt. So I had this pretty large credit card debt a few years ago. And let me tell you let me tell you the story of how that happened. Where can we find this file? It's on, you would have had to subscribe to my newsletter at Shamar. If you subscribe to the newsletter now, you will get it. So as soon as you subscribe, you'll get a welcome email that gives you the link to where you can download it. Actually, I can paste it in here since you guys are watching. Oh. Oh no, it's not letting me do that. Yeah, subscribe to the newsletter and you will get the document. Anyway. To make the screen a little bit bigger. Let me see if I can. Ah, there we go. Okay, so Shireen is saying it should be rent/mortgage. Not necessarily, because I have mortgage under debts. And if you're paying rent, then it's not a debt. So I would have to put it in a separate row. But you could just use anything that doesn't apply to you. You can always just delete it, because it's an Excel. You can customize this document. You can always just delete it or ignore it. You just leave it blank. All right, so here we are, full screen. Yeah, I was about to tell you the story of how I got into debt. Is when I bought my first car on my own. The bank was like, "Don't you want a credit card?" So I was like, "Sure, why not?" I said, "Yeah, when you're a car owner, you're gonna have unexpected expenses. Just take the credit card." So like, okay, why not? Well, guess what Kalila did when I got my first credit card, along with my first car and car payments, so car loan. I went shopping and ended up in that cycle of debt. I just went and bought a whole bunch of unnecessary stuff, and in the beginning was paying just the minimum, and then started trying to pay more than the minimum, but by then the interest was crept up, and it's you know since I'm telling you this story, yeah, by then the interest just crept up, and I was in debt, and it took me like couple years to pay off that debt. So this is how I did it, right? With using this section of the budget template right here. So you have your credit card. And let me try to freeze. Let's freeze this row. All right, so I froze that row so that you can see actual estimated difference. Okay, so let's start here. Let's say you have $200,000 in credit card debt, right? You want to plan, how am I going to pay off all of this debt? And you make a plan and you decide that you're going to pay $10,000 a month. So that has to go in your budget, that you are paying $10,000 a month towards your credit card debt. You did pay the $10,000, so you put it there, and then the month you went back. But you also had interest, so you need to put the interest in your budget. You need to budget for that interest payment, or else you will be paying back this credit card debt, paying back or thinking that you're paying back, whatever this amount is, but not accounting for the interest that was added to the debt. And then you also have annual fees for credit cards, or if you paid late, then they're going to add a late fee. So let's say your interest on this credit card was $5,000 this month. So you need to budget for that. And you paid it. So you paid a total of $15,000 on this credit card this month. Your $10,000 what you're planning to repay, and then you had $5,000 in interest. So total that you paid on this card was $15,000. And then you're going to put it here, credit it, 15,000. So now your balance is $185,000. But then next month, what was brought forward, so because I had to delete a lot of my personal information from this, and I haven't used this section of the budget for a long time. Some of the formulas have gone. So next month, let's pretend now that it's next month. Your balance brought forward is $185,000. Because it was less than the previous month, let's say your interest payment fell to $4,000, right? Now your credits is going to be 15,000, which is what you plan to pay, but you also have to account for the interest. So it will be minus, it's a little bit complicated. I think I need to do a part 2 of this that's less complicated after I've completely sorted this out. Is it minus or plus? It's minus. Minus your interest. So it's that minus C60. Then put in the equal sign. So actually, what you are crediting toward to next month only works out to $11,000. You following me? So you paid 15, but because you added $4,000 in interest, or because the company charged you $4,000 in interest, then what you credit to the account is really only $11,000. I hope you guys are following me. Any questions? Are you following? Let me know in the comments. Are you following? Let me know. If anybody doesn't follow, just say no right now in the comments, and I will, do that over. Oh boy, this took me years to figure out these things. Okay, somebody, you guys say yes, yes, yes. If it's a no, tell me no. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Rochelle says a bit. You know what? I'm definitely gonna do a part 2, and I'm gonna go over it when we have, when I've really refined everything. So this is the reason it took me so long to put it out, even though I've been because when I made the promise, I was like, oh, it's easy. I'm just gonna delete all my personal information, set everything back to zero. But then I realized that it was not that simple. You have to make sure the formulas are still working. When you set stuff to zero, how do I explain how things still work? And that's why it took so long for me to finally share it. And now I'm realizing I still need to do some work on it before I can, I'll do a part 2. I'll do some work on it, make all the tweaks necessary. And when we have some time, we will go back over it. So somebody says no, so I'll go over that one more time. All right. So let's maximize the screen again. All right. So you have your credit card. Let's pretend this was 5,000. Let's go back to the original example. So you have your credit card. Your balance was, let's go back to the original example, $200,000. $200,000 debt on your credit card. You make a plan that you're going to repay $15,000. So this is estimated that you're going to pay $5,000 in interest, and then you also want to pay $10,000 in addition to whatever interest has been accumulated. So you're going to pay a total of $15,000 on this credit card. So right here in the credits column, you put in your 15,000, and that's what you're paying. But you also have to subtract C60, which is the interest and fees. So you paid 15,000, but then you also accumulated another 5,000 on the bill, right? So you have to account for that. So because an extra 5,000 was charged to your credit card, you really only end up with a credit to your account of 10,000. You get me? So let's say that you also used the credit card and you made a purchase for 2,500. Oh, that will be negative. You made a purchase of $2,500 on your credit card. So you repaid 15,000, but you also have to account for interest, and then you also spent $2,500 that month. And you may be thinking, okay, well, I paid 15,000. It's okay if I spend 2.5, a little 2.5 here. But then when you account for the interest too, you realize that you really only ended up with a credit of $7,500. So your balance for the next month is going to be $192,500. And that's the trap that a lot of us fall into. We think that this number should be 185,000 because we repaid 15, but we didn't account for the interest, or we forgot that we spent that extra 2.5 on something, and your balance isn't going down as fast as it should. So this helps you to track where you are with your debt. And I think maybe I can make these parts a little bit clearer. I can figure out a way in my revised version of this template. Any other questions so far? I get that part. Siobhan, anything else you wanted to add? What's the part that you didn't get? Will this be available after? Yes, it will be. If there's any part that you didn't get, let me know and I will go back over it. And then of course you have your totals at the bottom. So this will tell you how much you plan to spend versus how much you actually spent and what the difference was. And then up here, this will tell you your deficit. So your estimated deficit, so this is your income minus your expenses. So C2 is your estimated income minus C67, which is here, what you estimated to spend. That tells you that you plan to spend X amount, you plan to earn X amount, and this is the extra that you have left over at the end of the month. And then your actual deficit surplus is the same thing, but based on these numbers. So B2 and B67. So what you actually spent, are you in the red or are you in the black at the end of the month? Over here, I have a couple of, so you'll see this yellow column and this red one, spending rules. So these were things that I put in there to remind myself that these are my rules for spending. All purchases over $5,000 must be budgeted. So don't go on a whim buying something, you know. So I did give myself some flexibility. So $1,000 here, $1,000 there, sure. But for me, 5,000 was that number, that I wouldn't spend anything more than that without planning to spend it. And planning doesn't necessarily have to mean planning like an entire month in advance. Planning can mean coming back to this document and tweaking this document. So it can mean, okay, I saw something here that I really wanted to buy that cost $10,000, right? Well, that means that I need to cut this budget. Let me find something else. That means that, all right, let's say my restaurant budget was 50,000. I was using random numbers. But I see something that I want to buy for 10,000. That means I have to come and cut restaurants by 10,000. So restaurants have to go down to 40,000. So that way I account for the spending and remain overall in budget. So that's why I like this particular document too, because it allows that type of flexibility, which the app doesn't allow. And then my third rule when I was really trying to pay off that credit card debt was that all windfalls, and a windfall simply means any unexpected money. So, example, that cash pot thing that you won, or somebody gave you some money as a gift unexpectedly, or however, whatever happens, you get an unexpected job, an odd job somewhere. Somebody asks you to fix their pipes, I don't know, and that was unexpected. So all windfalls went to credit card first, then car payments, then what I have? Stocks, house fund. I would actually probably reverse this now. I don't really worry about the car payment too much. I would probably put it in stocks first. So credit card first, then stocks, and then add some extra to the car payment. Yeah, so that's about it for this thing. Do I have an emergency budget? Yes, so that is right here in the top row, emergency fund. This row right here. And I like to keep that in a separate account. And I don't walk with the debit card for that account. So I don't keep it in my purse at all. That just stays at home, and that is really in case of emergency. All right, so I think we're done with that one. Why didn't I learn this 2 years ago? Oh man, I'm glad to be of help. I'm really glad that you guys are finding this useful. So we're done with that one. Let me go over the investments portfolio. And that also needs some tweaking, which is why, or don't get a card for that account. Yeah. So that's another thing. You can just not get a card for the account, but then if an emergency does happen and you need access to the cash, then you have to go all the way into a bank, and it can be counterproductive if you don't have a card for the account. So the whole purpose of the account is to be able to meet emergencies. But an emergency happens and you don't have immediate access to the cash. What if it's a Sunday, the bank's not open? Then how do you get out the money? So I think you do need to have a card for the emergency account, but I would suggest just don't walk with it. Or if you do keep it in your wallet, keep it in a part that you don't normally use. Like my purse has several compartments. So I keep that card. Well, yeah, I used to keep it in my top drawer at home, but then just in case I need it, I keep it in a little hidden section of my purse that I don't normally see. So I usually don't remember it's there. I haven't had to use that account in a long time. Usually, what I use that account for is car stuff and health stuff. Those are two things that tend to creep up on you. You get a sudden illness and somebody needs a surgery. You do have your health insurance, but you often have a copay. It often doesn't cover everything, and so you can use the account for that. Something happens to your car, that stuff creeps up on you. Can use the account for that. But everything else, me personally, some people recommend that you keep 6 months of your salary in an emergency account. Like, I really think hard to do that. Thinking of money in an account sitting there not invested. Oh, I can't. I tried it and I couldn't. Like, I really couldn't. I needed to invest that money because I feel like it can make so much more money for me if it's invested. But that's my personal philosophy. If you want to be on a much safer side and make sure that you have cash in an account good to go in case you lose your job at any moment, then the emergency savings account accumulating 6 months salary is the way to go. But it just feels like it takes forever to get there, depending on how much your salary is. It seems like it takes a really long time to accumulate that 6 months, and I feel like you'd get there faster if you just invest the money. All right, so that is the first one. I'm going to show you the second one now, the investing template. So you guys don't have this yet. I plan on sending it out later this week, but don't hold me to the fire if I don't meet my commitments, because as you can see, there's still some things to be worked out, and I haven't even finished with the investment one yet. So let's look at Here we go. So here is your sample investment portfolio. I put a few sample stocks in there, and these are the actual prices of these stocks. So you'll see January, February, March, April. I think this is from May. Does it say May there? I think so, because my StreamYard stuff is right in front of it. Oh, it says June. All right, let's look at May. These are the actual prices for these stocks in May. So let's pretend that we own 100 shares in all of these accounts, and I have account A and account B, because you can have more than one investment account. So let's say you have an account at Proven Wealth and you have an account at JMMB. For argument's sake, let's say this is the Proven account, and let's say this is the JMMB account where you have some stocks. So these are the stocks that I have in my portfolio Proven. These are the stocks that I have in my portfolio with JMMB. These are the actual prices from June. So I own 100 shares in all of these. The previous price for Seprod was $79.56. So that would have been the price at the end of April. And brought forward is just B4 times C4. So 100 shares times what the price was. So I had $7,956 in Seprod. Now let's say I bought a few more Seprod shares. I bought 50 Seprod shares. And at the end of May, the price of Seprod actually fell to $74.54. So it might have been a good opportunity to invest in Seprod, right? And so this is why I said I need to tweak this thing, because now the formula didn't update. So B4 times F4 so my number of shares was 100 times the new price equals this. But clearly now I need to add another column here. Let's leave it at 0. So when you get your updated thing, and I do part 2 of this and go over the review and everything's been tweaked, it will update. So clearly I need another column right here. That will say my new shares. New total shares, or whatever you want to call it, and that will equal this B4 plus E4. Because we bought 50 shares, right? Oh, why is this in dollars? Oh boy. This is in dollars. It should be in shares. Is it in dollars? No, it's not in dollars. It's not in dollars. So this shouldn't even have decimal points then. Let's take away the confusion. These shouldn't have any decimals. Okay, so now I have 150 shares, and the price is $74.54. And my new balance would actually be, so this formula needs to be modified, would actually be B4, which is, no, it would actually be 150. So it'd be F4 times G4. Yeah, this needs work, and this is why I haven't shared it with you yet. Clearly, it needs some work. Kalila make big promise, you see. So your new balance is $11,000. Let's do an example that didn't involve me purchasing anything. So NCB. I have 100 shares in NCB. Bought them at the end of April, they were worth $139. And so that's how much I had in NCB at the time. Didn't buy or sell any NCB shares. At the end of May, the price went up to 140.21, and my new balance is now 14,000. So I made 112,000. And now we move over to these columns. I gained 0.81%. I don't know why this is showing a negative. Oh, year to date. So these columns are year to date gain loss in dollar amounts, year to date gain loss in percentage amounts. So this takes you all the way back to January. So in January, NCB shares were 143.58. And now in May, it's gone down to 140.21. So year to date, I've made a loss on NCB based on this portfolio. But if we look at, let's see, ooh, who's up 29%? Mail Pack is up 29% year to date. So Mail Pack's the previous price at the end of, I have 100 shares in Mail Pack at the end of April, it was $360. So at $360 in Mail Pack. At the end of May, it was $373. It went up. So price appreciation took me to $373. I made $13 on it this month. So I'm up 3% this month. And then for the year, I've actually made $85, up 30%. And then how we continue doing this now, each month, all you do is you go here, you duplicate the sheet. So it gives you a copy of May. And you're just going to rename it June and update your information. So you bring back, so whatever was in your new price here, the end of May, you're going to put that here in June as a previous price, as your price brought forward. And then you just continue the cycle for the rest of the year. And then it tells you at the top how much was in your proven account, if it's proven that you have. So you now have 84,000, you gained 3,360 this particular month. That account was up 4.1%. In your other account, you earned $467 this month, so it was a good month. But then for the year, the account is actually down. And then it gives you the totals at the bottom. So there are apps that do this. I've tried one called J-Stock. J-Stock? I'll tell you what it's called right now. Yeah, J-Stock. Right, where is it? Top. This one right here. Can you see it? It's green and yellow. J-Stock. That app does it, but it only allows you to add probably like 5 stocks. And after that, you have to pay. There's another one. I still have it, or did I delete it? There's another one I have tried. I can't remember what it's called. But you guys, if you know stock, I see some people saying that there are apps that do it. So if you know it, just drop them in the comments. But I do know that some of the ones that I tried, and it might be worth it to you to pay for those particular apps rather than wait on me to try to tweak these formulas, these spreadsheets. But this is how I manage it right now. This is what I do every month. Go through it. Let me read some of your comments. I see a whole lot of comments here. What's the name of the app? Yeah, we'd love to know. Can one purchase a fraction of a share? I don't think so. Jamaica Stocks app, yeah. So John, that's the same one I was just showing you, J Stock app. Just that after a few things that you add a few stocks. First of all, you can only add one portfolio under the free version. And if you want to add a second portfolio, then you have to upgrade to the paid. And I'm not even sure how much the paid version is. The JSC app does not allow you to do that. Does it? Did they update it and it allows you to track your portfolios like that? I don't know. Not that I know of, because I do use the JSC app quite frequently, and if that is a capability of it, I did not know. It's an app. What else do we have? Is the Guardian stock oversubscribed? Oh, it's a good question. I haven't heard anything about Guardian. Emergency fund shouldn't just sit in a savings account. That's what I think. I don't think it should sit in a savings. But you know what made me think twice about that was COVID, because I've always thought that I, I do not like all that money. Because 6 months worth of salary is a lot of money. Let's say you earn $200,000 a month. 6 months worth of that salary is how much that? 200 times 6, $1.2 million just sitting in accounts, eating up fees and not earning you any additional money. Like I always think hard to have $1.2 million just sitting in an account. But in the event that something like COVID happens and all your emergency savings is invested and everybody's trying to sell at the same time, you would end up selling at a loss and your 1.2 million wouldn't be 1.2 million anymore. You'd sell and you'd end up with maybe $900,000 or less, and kind of defeats the purpose of having emergency savings. So it's up to you what you want to do. I still prefer the route of investing my emergency savings up to a point. So I still do want to have like at least $200,000 liquid in an account for stuff like emergency car repairs, or if there's a health procedure that needs to be taken out that your insurance wouldn't cover 100%. That comes up all of a sudden. All right, let me read some of the others. I use my credit card as way of emergency funds. A lot of us fall into that trap. That is partly how I got into the debt trap. So apart from the big shopping binge that I went on after I got my first credit card, it ended up being my emergency account too. So any emergency, swipe it, and then you don't have a plan to repay it, and you get stuck in that debt cycle. Let me see what other comments we have. I fall into when I end up with credit card debt of 200,000. Now I have 65 left to pay. Yeah, that's great. So 65, you have made great progress on it. Just remember to account for the interest, and you can use your budget to account for that. Not an Excel person. I totally understand, Richard. Will this be available after? Yes. Once you get the formulas back in, it won't seem so foreign to those not accustomed to Excel. That is my hope. Let's see. What other comments do we have? Should be rent/more. Okay, so I think I answered most of these other comments already. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. I appreciate you being with me, even though it was partly a hot mess. At least you have something to start with, right? Yeah, at least you have you have something that you can start and tweak to your benefits and make whatever necessary adjustments you need to make for yourself. But I'm going to continue working on them too and try to fix it up so that you guys have a good product that you can use for yourself and it can be applicable. All the formulas work in any situation. Thank you so much, and let's get this money. Bye. And it will be available. Yes, I'll keep the video up until we do the part 2 when I have everything fixed. And at that point, I'll delete this one. All right. Bye.